What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host, Vernon. This is Lake Elliott. Let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, made my way out to Fort Whyte. To be clear, we are fishing Lake Elliott, but we're also fishing Lake Devonian. I'm going to try and fish where these two lakes meet, thinking that's going to be a bit more of a shallow area. That's where I'm going to focus today. And quite simply, what I'm going to be doing out there today is I want to find out what fish are in these waters. Last time I was out here, I used some minnows, little live minnows, and I only caught some yellow perch. But I've seen some photos of some pike being caught, and I've seen some carp jumping. So not knowing what fish are out there, I want to try and get some baits and lures in the water, see what we can get on. According to the staff here at Fort Whyte, these waters contain pike, perch, walleye and carp. Now, out of these species, I'm more familiar with catching carp, so I think that's where we're going to start today. Get some baits out, see if we get anything. Alright, so Fort Whyte only opens at 9. That means there's a big part of the day, early mornings, when some lures would be good to use and that we cannot fish. And that is why I'm thinking of starting with the carp setup. We can always swap over to some lures later on in the afternoon to see if we get anything. So I'm just going to start with a good old trusty pack bait. That's just some corn, oats and jello mixture that is on my little method feeder. Putting on some corn on the one hook, and on the other hook just a night crawler, see if we can get any fish to feed on any type of thing we throw out there. The idea is going to be throwing it in the exact same spot, and every once in a while, every hour or so, casting some more pack bait in that same area, trying to get feeding going. You want the fish to get all riled up and feeding on anything so that it will get your little baits. Alright, got the rod baited out in the water and ready for action. Using a bait runner on my reel there. If a fish grabs it, we want it to be able to take line. Above that, I have a little alarm that will sound if something is taking line. And on my line, that little red or orange thing, that is just a strike indicator on the line. Little cork thing to show me if the fish is swimming towards us, that will drop down, or if the fish is grabbing it, that will jump up. Now, why am I choosing this particular spot? Well, it's quite simple. These lakes used to be quarries, so they are rather deep in the middle. They got flooded and now they are little lakes or ponds, and in between these lakes there's a little shelf running through some higher ground, so it drops off into deep water, but we have some shallow water around this area, thinking that any carp that should be up shallow, that's going to be feeding carp. So rather than having the baits out in the middle of the water, having it in the shallow waters, looking for some hungry carp, feeding carp. Let's see if we get anything.
One hour later.
Right, it's now been an hour and we're getting hits like that. I think that is some small fish going for that little piece of night crawler, ripping on that thing, not swallowing it, not pulling the entire thing, setting off the alarm, just getting some small hits. But that is a good sign. That means we're starting to get fish in the area. I just saw something jumping out there as well. So I'm thinking maybe we need to rebait, get some fresh baits out there, see if we can get maybe a smaller piece of night crawler on, so we actually hook these fish. Or maybe just going for pure corn to see if we can get any carp feeding. Alright, so clearly my little pack baits are working, getting some action, something stealing my baits. Now I have a suspicion of what that is, because it's definitely not carp. So for that reason, I quickly want to tie on a small little drop shot rig, a little piece of night crawler, get that out into the same area, see if we can quickly catch one of these fish, so that we know what we're dealing with, what's trying to steal the baits. Now you are only allowed to use one rod, so I'm putting away my carp setup and only using this one. Gonna throw it around for a while, maybe swap back to the carp one. Now I know I want to get it in the same place, but if we have small fish stealing the baits, maybe move it to a different spot. But let's get this out there, see what we're dealing with. Alright, swapped over to some lures. Been throwing all sorts of different lures, getting pike and losing pike. Swapping over to some trebled hooks, and we get one. Lovely little pike. Now missed quite a few, but finally landed one using little treble hooks. They stay in that mouth a bit better. Nice lovely pike. Let's get him back. And off he goes. Ever so slowly, no rush. I've lost one on this side, lost one on that side. This one I just cast it out that way. We finally got one. Like I said, using little crankbait with some treble hooks. Of course, you have to close the barbs on the hooks. So all of the hooks, barbs are closed, but having 3 points to hook him just keeps the fish a little bit better than having one single hook. Even though the carp fishing hasn't been working today, pike fishing seems to be pretty well. My little line broke, but we did get our little lure back, and that fish swam off. Didn't get to haul him out of the water, but we got another one at least. just lost a big fish. Didn't actually get to see the fish, just saw him jumping, but that was a big fish. Alright, ladies and gents, having just lost that big fish, like I said, didn't get a clear look at him, the way it fell on the rod and the big silvery flash I could see. I think that was perhaps a 10-pound, maybe more, northern pike. And what a great experience. But I think that is where I'm going to call this video out here today. I came out here this morning throwing out baits, thinking that I'm going to catch some carp. And I have to say, I can see quite a lot of carp jumping in the area. So maybe I'm just not using the right baits for them, or the water is just getting there ever so slightly. And in a few days, these fish might start to feed well. But after 5 hours of not getting carp, I finally decided to swap over to some lures, threw around some lures, and we got on some pike. Now, so far, that is 3 species we know are in these waters. The carp that I can see, the pike that we caught, and we do know of the perch that's out there. So now we only need to find that little walleye. So if you know how to get the walleye out of these lakes, please go down in the comments and tell me. Feel free to ask any questions while you're down there in the comments. Please do give me a little thumbs up for trying some carp fishing and at least getting on some different fish. And if you're new here to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button, join my community. I do weekly videos. Alright, but thank you for tagging along. And like always, I'll see you next time.